Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? For those who don't know, can you define somatic, please? I want to make sure people don't have this go over their head.
Sure. Yeah. So somatic is basically people who are able to, well, somatic in general just refers to the body. So, how emotions show up in the body, how trauma is stored in the body. And somatic practitioners can kind of help walk you through this process of where does that emotion feel? Where do you feel that in your body? And help you to process it in that way. So it can be like a really wonderful modality for people who have that stored trauma, maybe as a result of, a psychological traumatic experience, a mental emotional trauma, these types of things, and can help you work through processing that. So my training is a little bit different. When I start working with somebody, it's typically because their nervous system is so dysregulated. They are in that chronic state of fight or flight. And a couple ways you can identify that yourself, if you're in that, is if your heart beats really fast, randomly, if you notice that you breathe fast, if you have inflammation that comes and goes, pain that comes and goes, if you experience food sensitivities, but you've weeded out all the foods and you're eating healthy and you're gluten free, dairy free, all of these things, and you're still having food sensitivities. You get random rashes. You experience chemical sensitivities or your sensitivity to um, EMF, electromagnetic frequency. So these are all just kind of indicators that, ooh, maybe my autonomic nervous system is dysregulated. Now, at that point, the way that I kind of have a different spin on things and what I do is so niched is that we can no longer listen to the signal that the brain is telling the body. So if you want to, I'll explain a little bit of the neuroscience behind that. Um, if that
Yeah,
sounds
absolutely. Because I'm fascinated by this, and I would love you to explain the science behind it, and then also I assume this was going to happen. Move into understanding how you start to reframe around this.
Sure, sure. Yeah. So those are good things to be aware of, right? If maybe you're kind of in that state of a chronic fight or flight response. The next thing I'll point out is the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. And basically, what happens is you can detox. You can do all the things to treat the condition, the POTS, the Lyme disease, whatever you're dealing with to make you feel better, do the change the diet, right? Change your lifestyle and then still be symptomatic. And it's kind of this result of your brain communicating to your body, dangerous present, dangerous present, dangerous present. And it goes back to, our past experiences of at one point being in danger, but the brain can get stuck in a state of fight or flight. So that even if you remove the initial threat, the virus, the bacteria, the abusive situation that you were in, the brain can still be communicating to the body that that threat is present and we're going to respond. So the hypothalamus is located in your limbic brain, that feeling and emotional and reacting brain. And the hypothalamus basically communicates to the pituitary gland, which is very, responsible for releasing hormones to the rest of your body. And the hypothalamus says, hey, dangerous present. We need to respond. And the pituitary gland says, oh my goodness, dangerous present. Respond. And then the pituitary gland sends a message uh, to the adrenal glands, which sit on top of your kidneys. And that's through ACTH, the adrenocorticotrophin ACT hormone. And the adrenal glands say, oh, yeah, 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 there's danger present. We got this message from the pituitary gland. We need to respond. So adrenaline is released, cortisol is released, norepinephrine is released as a response of this communicated signal. So again, we go back to the start of this. The threat doesn't necessarily have to be present for the brain to be in this negative feedback loop that the threat is present and we need to respond. And this is dangerous. So that's kind of an interesting thing because a lot of times we think, okay, the very first thing to think about if you have those chronic symptoms is what's going on in my life? How can I eat better, do better, um, feel better, address any virus, address any bacteria? Well, now fast forward to this place where we've done those things and we've detoxed the best that we can and we've treated the issues that we have, but my body is still symptomatic. My brain is still responding in this threat response. And that to me, I'm like, "Oh my goodness, this." When I found that out, that was such an aha moment for me because I'm like, "Oh, this is part of my brain. This is my autonomic nervous system responding to a threat." It's not because of a certain condition, though it's important. I want to stress that it is important to address the virus, the bacteria, all of these things. But when you set your physical body up for success and your autonomic nervous system is still responding, like there's danger present, that's a dysregulated nervous system. And then we can take time to pay attention to that dysregulation and then shift it. And so that's what I teach in Vital Side. And so, I give tips all of the time just on my Instagram and about ways to kind of shift out of this fight or flight response. And I can go through a couple ways to do that now. But I also will say that though I kind of go through on my Instagram some very quick tips that you can use in the moment to shift out of that fight or flight response, there is this sort of structured, pretty intensive approach to making those long term sustainable changes to your nervous system. Because think about all of the experiences that brought you to this dysregulated autonomic nervous system. The chronic illness, maybe the trauma from your childhood and experiencing abuse as a child, the little t traumas throughout your life, those times where you got called out in class and you didn't know the answer and, you felt traumatized in that moment, right? So trauma, there could be the physical trauma, mental, emotional, psychological trauma. And all of those experiences have led you to this point where the body's like, I just can't handle it anymore. Now I'm symptomatic. So it does take a strategic and structured approach to shifting that. And it does take a minimum of 6 months. That's pretty much what I've seen in my own practice and just working with other practitioners who do something similar. But you can daily make these changes. And those consistent changes through mental exercises, through visualization techniques, through shifting, becoming aware of certain thoughts and actions you take, habits you have, and shifting them. It's all about those incremental changes every single day to then create habits around those new positive changes, how you can benefit your immune system, your health, change your brain for the better, and then making it a sustainable practice.